Hi, I'm Justin McRoberts. I'm host of the At Sea podcast, and I would like your help bearing witness to and building into what comes next with regards to the practice of faith, specifically faith in community, what a lot of people would call church. See, this podcast was actually born out of a practice that was probably my favorite and definitely my most life-giving practice that I get to participate in as a pastor of a local church community here in the East San Francisco Bay Area. It's what we called Signs of Life. We would pass the microphone during one of our normal gatherings around the room, away from the front where the trained person would usually tell stories about what it sounds like, looks like, and feels like for God to show up. And those questions would be answered by whoever picked up the mic and had the audacity, the wisdom, and the wherewithal to say, this is where I'm seeing God. This is where I'm hearing God. This is how I'm experiencing God. It's a practice that didn't just decentralize the story of the divine among a particular group of people. It also helped us reorient our ears, to kind of reposture our souls to listen for, look for, and expect God to show up in places, in people, in scenarios, and in language not only we didn't like, but sometimes we didn't expect, sometimes we didn't even want. And it prepared us. It prepared us to bear witness, to listen, to expect differently when that institutional space no longer worked for a whole lot of us. And we ended up having to move on and look for what came next for us. We were more prepared to listen for the divine, here, there, and wherever the divine was going to show up. You see, that's what makes this podcast important, is that I get to pass the microphone around culture and ask that question, where do you see God? Where are you hearing God? What does the divine sound like in this corner of culture? And as our institutional spaces, as sacred and wonderful and beautiful as they may have been, as they begin to work for fewer and fewer people, for fewer and fewer kinds of people, I want us to be a culture that continues to expect the divine to show up and to posture our ears, our souls, our hearts, and our minds in a way in which we can see and receive, to bear witness to and build into what comes next. Will you help me do that by supporting this podcast?